One of the guys I love seeing on Twitter is Panthers head coach Ron Rivera, and welcome to the Combine 2018.
Thanks, Peter. Good to be here.
I love having you here, and before we get into the football, we got to start with the fun. I saw this thing on Twitter, and we had a blast with it on the show. You were curling last week. Curling, the sport of champions, USA gold. What'd you think of the curling experience, and what is your respect for the curlers of America now that they've won the gold medal?
I have a tremendous amount of respect. Going back to probably two other Winter Olympics, you watched them curl, and I wish I could try that. Well, I got the opportunity most recently.
Here you are.
I'll tell you what now, this is no joke. It really isn't. People think this is, it's nothing sport, but when you get there, you get a true appreciation because, first of all, you want to be competitive, so you want to be good at it. You want to show everybody that you can do it. And those first couple times, you're on ice, you're trying not to fall, you want to look good, and what happens is your natural competitiveness takes over. And the first couple times when you're absolutely terrible at whatever you're trying.
And anything, right?
Absolutely. You want to get better. And that's really what happened. And I had a great time with it. But the worst part about it was my wife was better than me.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
Killed me.
Talk
Absolutely.
about it.
No,
yeah, that's it.
No, she had the touches, and then she had the ability to sweep a lot better because, here I was trying to grind it through the ice. And when you're supposed to.
Brute force.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But it was fun. It really was. I got a tremendous amount of respect for those folks. And, there's a whole atmosphere to it. And the people that were there at the Charlotte Curling Club were tremendous.
I love that. And now we look back at the season here in 2017, a strong season for the Panthers. You obviously fall short in the playoffs. What have the past 40 days been like, and what have you been doing here to kind of gear up for 2018?
Well, the past 40 have been interesting for us, obviously, and for specific reasons. But just trying to put everything back together, get the coaching staff back together, having to go through the most recent cuts that we've made, for specific reasons. But I think we're focusing on what we need as far as free agency and the draft. So I'm excited to be here at the Combine.
Yeah, and Norv Turner obviously comes in, an old pal of yours, and Mike Shula is no longer there. What can the fans at home, and the Panthers fans specifically, expect from a Norv Turner offense, especially with Cam Newton running point on that?
Well, one of the things that's interesting is, looking at Norv and the history he's had with quarterbacks, I think this is a great opportunity for Cam to go to another level. I think Cam has been terrific for us, got us to the Super Bowl, obviously, under Mike. But, I think with Norv, it gives us a different look, a different flavor as to how we're going to do things offensively. So I'm excited about that combination as far as, our offense is concerned.
Yeah, and then on the defensive side of the ball, obviously Thomas Davis had his announcement. This might be his final ride here, but still one of the best defenses in the entire NFL. How does the defense take it to another level here in 2018?
Well, it's going to be interesting, obviously, because, we lose Steve Wilkes. He goes to Arizona as their head coach. And, now we've got to have Eric Washington step into place. Eric's a very dynamic coach. He's got an attitude and a way of doing things that's all his own. So it's going to be interesting to see how that mixes. But I still feel very comfortable because of the personnel we have in place, starting with our linebackers, with Luke, Thomas, and Shaq. I think, that's part of the backbone of who we are. And then up front, I think our defensive line's solid. And then with our young corners, I think we can take another step with those guys as well.
I know you're a pretty humble guy, but when we look at some of the coaching hires in recent years, you've now got Steve Wilkes as a head coach in Arizona. You've got Sean McDermott now, the head coach up in Buffalo. We know about the Belichick tree, the Walsh tree, even the Andy Reid tree, which you are a descendant of. The Ron Rivera coaching tree is beginning to sprout a little bit. How proud are you to see some of the guys that are your protégés coming up and taking those jobs?
I'm very proud because those guys have worked very hard. I've got to know both those guys for a long time. Sean and I were together in Philadelphia. Steve and I started together in Chicago. And, having had those guys work with me the last few years and watch those guys grow and become solid head coaches in this league, and I think Steve will become a solid head coach like Sean has. I'm very excited for both those guys.
My last question is one about your style and fashion. We know Cam Newton is one of the more fashionable players in the league. In fact, he wore a brimless hat this year, something I have never seen before, Ron. I liked it. I'm a big New York City fashion guy. Hadn't seen the brimless hat yet. But you yourself broke out some fashionable looks. You went to the T-shirt look, a lot of different custom T-shirts. This was new. The fans had a blast with it. The local reporters had a blast with it. How did the custom T-shirt weekly tradition begin? And then my real question, do you have a T-shirt maker in your – look at all these T-shirts. Do you have a T-shirt maker in the facility? How does this all come together?
Well, what happens is it actually comes because of our social media department. One of the things that – and the one in the center, vote for Greg Olson, for the Walter Payton Man of the Year. I told everybody I'm going to wear that just to, kind of make everybody aware of it. And as each week something new came up, Our social media department, very creative folks, said, Coach, we got some different ideas. If you mind wearing them, I said, sure. You print them, I'll wear them. And so as each week went on, we would talk about what's going on. Part of the reason I did it really was for the awareness for Greg, but then as we did the next one, I started thinking, the guys were having fun with it. I could see them kind of relaxing because, we were at the point of the season where we had to win out.
Yeah.
And we had to play well to get ourselves into the playoffs. So I think our guys, needed a little something to laugh at. So I figured we'd laugh at me and take a little bit of the pressure off of them.
Yeah, and now you're the most fashionable coach in all of football, so that works as well. That's good. In closing, I'm going to toss it back to our gang here in New York. You're one of our favorite coaches. What can the 2018 Panthers fan expect from that team now that we head into the next new year here for the NFL season? You as the head coach, kind of a new coaching staff in certain places, and also going to add some players. What can the Panthers fan expect to get you over the hump after losing in the round that you did in the playoffs?
Well, I think the biggest thing, more so than anything else, is we've got to see ourselves improve on all three phases of football. We've got to be more consistent on special teams, and we've got to be able to create at least one big play a game. I feel very comfortable. Chase Blackburn is now our new special teams coordinator. Pretty excited about what he can bring to the table. Offensively, with Norv's background, my background with Norv, and having watched what he's done with Phillip Rivers, what he did with Troy Aikman, I think he's got an opportunity to help Cam go to another level. I'm excited about that. And then defensively, again, I think we're going to stick to what our DNA is all about on the defensive side, and that's attacking, trying to create takeaways. And I think we can be a dynamic team like we were last year. And again, a big part of it is we got to go out there and prove it now.
Love it. Week 1, Ron Rivera, I expect you in a brimless hat.
No, I told Cam, look, I can afford the whole hat. I got a brim on mine.
That's it. You got the whole hat. That's